Hi, you're watching Level Up Hobbies, and I'm Jason. Today we're venturing into the mysterious world of H.P Lovecraft. I'm going to be painting up this Reaper Bones version of the Cthulhu demon. Let's get painting. Enjoy. Alright, today we're going to have a little change of pace. I'm going to be painting this Reaper Bones Cthulhu monster. I'm not really sure what you'd call it. Great old one. So this is a little different than the Warhammer 40k figures that I've recently been painting. I'm actually doing this for my nephew. I want to get this painted and get it to him. So I thought I would go ahead and document it and let you guys see how I'm going to be painting it up. So this is the Reaper Bones line of miniature. It is made from, I believe it's called polymer plastic. I could be wrong. It's more of a rubbery plastic. It's not rigid like the GW plastics are. You cannot use plastic glue with this. You have to use some other type of glue. I used super glue, I used Loctite, just gel super glue, and it holds it very well. I have not attached it to the base yet, just so I can take it off, paint the base, and then put it on, and I have not attached the head. So I can get under and paint anything underneath the head and paint the underside of the head with a little bit more ease. All right, so first thing to do with painting this is I'm going to spray it with an acrylic base, and that is going to be this Vallejo, spray black primer. And then once I have this covered, we'll come back and we'll start laying down some base coats. All right, see you in a sec. Now I'm going to give it a kind of a zenithal highlight using some Liquitex titanium white acrylic ink. This will make for a nice highlight once we start putting the colors down. All right, so I didn't do an actual zenithal. A zenithal would be, the sun or whatever light source at its zenith, so it'd be directly above. I did one at kind of a 45 degree, maybe, 30 degrees. And so that gave me some really dramatic shadows underneath, like these folds of the skin and under the arms. It gives me a very hard separation between the highlight and then the shadows that are falling on it. 'Cause really I want this to be in kind of like a moonlight. So that's what I'm going for with this. Yeah, so those shadows, it's much darker on this side than it is over here. And I think that's gonna look great. It's a very dramatic kind of lighting for the scene. All right, let's get to adding some colors. We're gonna start putting some color down on this guy. And for that, I'm going to be spraying it with some Citadel's Incubi Darkness base color. And I have thinned this down with the Citadel Contrast medium, just to the right consistency. I wanted it to act more like a contrast, and so flow down off of the highlights and just leave a little bit of color on top. So we'll see if it works or not. Fingers crossed. Now I'm going to add a little bit of Alright, now I'm going to add a little bit of violet to this. So I'm going to start layering up some Nagaroth Night base. And for this, I'm going to work on the belly area and maybe around the hands and feet and possibly the wings. Just to add a little bit of contrast to this bluish green. So I've thinned that again with some contrast medium, and we'll just use the airbrush to get it on there. Okay, next I'm going to add a little bit more color to it. I'm going to use some Vallejo Game Color Warlord Purple, and I'm just going to mix that in with the remnants of the Nagaroth Night that I just used, and I'm just going to spray these tentacles on his face, and just towards the ends I want to leave up here towards his face a lot darker. This could be done with a paintbrush, but I've already got my airbrush out, so I figured I might as well just go ahead and spray it. So, alright, let me move him back here. And again, it's just going to be towards these ends, just to add a little bit more color variation to it. Alright, you can see that adding that Warlord Purple to the mix really changed up how those tentacles looked. I I just added a lot of variation to it instead of just that deep violet. You get a good mix, and now it looks good. All right, now I'm gonna mix a little bit of Vallejo Game Color Black. Really can use any black for this. I'm gonna mix some of this in with the Incubi Darkness, and I'm going to paint all of the like the claws, little talons, and these little ridges running down the back. I'm gonna paint it all with that. Alright, so now I'm going to really start trying to build up some of the contrast in like the indentations in the skin and all of the recesses. And for that I'm making a wash. I'm going to do an oil wash with some ivory black and phthalo green. And then I just thin that out with some odorless mineral spirits. And I'm gonna wash this over the whole model, and then I'll start subtracting it using Q-tips and towels with a little bit of mineral spirits on it. So, alright, let's begin. And hopefully I don't do anything that's going to start taking away some of this wash using Q-tips and a little bit of odorless mineral spirits. And I'll just start rubbing away. You can see the dried wash will come up. It's stained the undercoat, and it will leave the darker wash in the recesses. And I'm not gonna push very hard, I'm just it kind of reactivates the oil wash too, so you can kind of move it around and just pick it up from where you want, leave it darker in spaces. Pretty good. And the harder you push, the more it's going to pick up, or the more you rub on it, the more it'll pick up. So if you don't want to pick up a lot of the color, you can just dab at it. Okay, I'm going to go through and start adding some highlights to the skin tone, and I'm going to keep most of these to the upper right hand side, just anywhere this light source is going to be hitting. I don't want to put a lot. I like how dark it is, but I do need to emphasize some of the features. And for that, what I did is I just took some of the incubi darkness that I based them in, and I just added a little bit of Citadel's gray seer base. And then I thinned it down with just a little bit of water. I'm going to use a little bit of Citadel's Xerius Purple to do some highlighting on these little areas here. Not much. I'm going to mix a little bit of gray seer in with that. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and paint the eyes now. I've based them in some Citadel Corax White, and now I'm going to paint them in some Iandin Yellow contrast paint. Dab up the excess. Right now I'm going to take a little bit of Volupus Pink contrast paint, and I'm going to add a little bit more color to those eyes. I'm just going to keep these around the edges, this around the edges, I hope. It worked somewhat. I just went over all the yellow. Okay, now I'm going to paint some type of paint in the eye. I'm going to do more of a slit than I don't really know what type of eyes a Cthulhu demon or whatever has. But I think they are slits. Okay. Got that in there. All right. I think this guy's done. I don't really want to go put in too much details or anything. The oil wash that I put on him really emphasized the shadows and the crevices, and then the spot highlights that I did really brought out some more of, like, you know, the muscle tones and, you know, parts of the head and these tentacles. And I don't really want to focus on the rest of the body anyways, just from like my hand like up. So I think that looks good. Yeah, so this is the first time I actually used an oil wash on a figure, and I like how it turned out. It adds a lot of detail that it would be hard to achieve otherwise. It would just take a long time. You could achieve it just by painting normally, but it would take a lot of time and effort to achieve that. So this is also the first Reaper Bones figure that I've painted, and I gotta tell you, I don't like painting this type of plastic. This polymer plastic does not hold the paint very well. There were a number of times that my glove would, you know, just rubbing on it, or even like when I was rubbing the oil wash off, you know, I wasn't putting hardly any pressure at all, and there was some of it like went all the way down to that polymer plastic. It just seems like it does not hold the paint on as well as like a normal, like a harder plastic. I don't know the differences in it, but I'm not happy with it. And I even went through and I washed all of the pieces in, like, you know, warm soapy water to make sure it didn't have any you know, mold release or anything on it. And it still like did not hold that base coat or the primer on there. But other than that, you know, it turned out really well. I'm very happy with it, and I'm actually this is a gift for my nephew, who will be leaving for basic training soon, and he's a huge Cthulhu fan. So we gave him the sculpt or the model a couple years ago, and then he gave it back, and I'm gonna paint it for him. And I moved and everything, and it just kind of got packed away, and I dug it out, and I really wanted to get this done for him. So I'm glad you guys got to join me with this, join me as I painted this. It was a lot of fun, and I'll see you next time. Thanks again for joining me here on Level Up Hobbies as I painted up this Cthulhu Demon by Reaper Miniatures. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe down below. And don't forget to hit that bell icon so you can be notified whenever I publish new material. Thanks again, and remember to build, paint, and play tabletop games. Later.